Have you ever wondered how an ancient philosophy can transform your love life? Imagine this, you're struggling with connection. Intimacy feels distant and modern advice just doesn't seem to work. But what if the solution was written nearly 2,000 years ago, hidden in the wisdom of a Stoic philosopher? Stay with me until the end of this video because today, we're diving into Marcus Aurelius's timeless teachings and uncovering 5 secret Stoic positions, not physical ones, but powerful mind states that could change how you approach intimacy forever. And trust me, you'll want to hear all 5 because the last one might just redefine love for you. But before we jump in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video. Your support allows us to create content like this, blending ancient wisdom with modern life. Ready? Let's go. Picture this, Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, is writing his private journal, later published as Meditations. He isn't thinking about fame, wealth, or power. His sole focus is mastering himself, his mind, his emotions, his relationships. Now, you might ask, what does this have to do with intimacy? The answer lies in the Stoic principles he lived by. For Marcus, intimacy wasn't just about passion or romance. It was about building deep, meaningful connections rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and shared growth. In a world filled with distractions and shallow relationships, his philosophy offers a refreshing lens on how to cultivate intimacy not just in love, but in all aspects of life. Amor fati, love your fate. Let me ask you something personal. Do you remember the exact moment you realized you were in love? Maybe it was their laugh that caught you off guard, their kindness in a small moment, or the way they seemed to truly see you. Hold on to that memory for a moment. It's magical, isn't it? But let's be real, fast forward to today, and things might feel a bit different. Maybe you've had arguments. Maybe some of their quirks, which once seemed endearing, now drive you crazy. You're not alone. Relationships aren't all sunshine and roses. They're messy, complicated, and sometimes downright frustrating. And that's exactly where Marcus Aurelius's principle of Amor fati comes in. It's Latin for love your fate. And while it's often applied to life in general, it's also an incredibly powerful lens for love. Amor fati isn't about tolerating your partner. It's about embracing them fully, just as they are, flaws and all. Let me tell you a story to bring this to life. Imagine a couple, let's call them Sarah and Alex. When Sarah and Alex first met, they were inseparable. Sarah adored Alex's adventurous spirit, and Alex couldn't get enough of Sarah's sharp wit. But as the honeymoon phase wore off, small annoyances began to creep in. Alex would forget to text when running late, and Sarah couldn't let go of her tendency to nitpick. The arguments started small, but over time, they felt like cracks in their relationship. Sound familiar? One day, after a particularly heated argument, Sarah came across this idea of Amor fati. She decided to try a simple exercise. Instead of focusing on Alex's forgetfulness, she thought about what it revealed about him. Yes, he was absent-minded. But wasn't that the same free-spirited quality she fell in love with? She began to see Alex's imperfections as part of his unique beauty. Instead of trying to change him, she leaned into the challenge of loving him fully exactly as he was. And here's the kicker, her attitude shift had a ripple effect. Alex noticed the change and, in turn, started making more of an effort, not because he felt pressured, but because he felt seen and accepted. Here's where you come in. Think about your own relationship. What's something about your partner that frustrates you? Now, take a moment to flip the script. Could that imperfection be a feature, not a bug? Maybe it's not a flaw at all, but a part of what makes them human and what makes your love story real. Amor fati doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means understanding that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing your partner every day as they are. The arguments, the quirks, the imperfections, those are the threads that weave your unique love story. So let me ask you, what's one imperfection in your partner that you can choose to love today? Share it in the comments below and stick around. because we're just getting started on this journey to mastering intimacy through Stoic wisdom. 2. Sympathia, universal connection. Let's pause for a moment. Close your eyes and think about the last time you truly felt connected to your partner, not just physically, but on a soul-deep level. Maybe it was during a quiet moment when you were both just being. Or maybe it was when they said or did something that made you feel like they really got you. Hold on to that feeling, because that's the essence of Sympathia. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this Stoic concept often. He believed that we're all interconnected, that no one exists in isolation. Sympathia is the idea that we are part of something bigger, a shared web of relationships, experiences, and emotions. Now, imagine applying this idea to your relationship. Too often we think of love as a two-player game, me versus you. But what if you started thinking of it as us versus the world? What if you could see your relationship not as two separate people coexisting, but as two souls weaving a shared life? Let me tell you a story. Picture a couple, Jake and Emily. They've been together for a few years, and while they love each other, they've started to feel distant. Little things become sources of conflict. Jake feels like Emily doesn't understand the pressure he's under at work, while Emily feels like Jake doesn't appreciate her efforts at home. One day, after another argument, Emily sits down and reflects on their relationship. She remembers a Stoic principle she once read, Sympathia. Instead of seeing Jake as the source of her frustration, she decides to see things from his perspective. She thinks about the stress he's facing, the sacrifices he's making, and how, deep down, his love for her is what motivates him to work so hard. Jake, in turn, notices Emily's shift in energy. He starts to appreciate her patience and begins to see how her actions are rooted in her desire to build a life with him. They stop arguing about who's right and start focusing on what they share. Think about your relationship. When was the last time you really saw your partner not just as an individual, but as part of your shared journey? What if, instead of focusing on what divides you, you focused on what connects you? Let me know in the comments. What's one thing you and your partner share that makes your connection special? And stick around, because we're about to dive even deeper into Stoic principles that can transform your love story. 3. The discipline of desire. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly thought about what you want in your relationship? Not just in the moment, but in the bigger picture? Desire is a tricky thing, isn't it? It can bring us closer together or push us further apart, depending on how we handle it. Marcus Aurelius believed that unchecked desire could lead to chaos. But when disciplined, it becomes a powerful tool for harmony. In love, this principle is about finding balance between what you want, what your partner wants, and what you both need to build a lasting connection. Let me tell you a story. Meet Anna and Liam. Their relationship started with fireworks. The kind of passion that makes you feel invincible. But over time, that fire became unpredictable. Anna felt Liam was too focused on work and wasn't making enough time for her. Liam, on the other hand, felt like Anna's expectations were too high. One evening, after a heated argument, Anna stumbled across a journal prompt. What do you truly desire in love? And how does it align with your partner's needs? She realized that her frustration wasn't just about Liam working late, it was about her need to feel seen and valued. Instead of letting her desire take over and spiral into resentment, she started communicating her feelings with calmness and clarity. Liam, inspired by her honesty, began to examine his own desires. He recognized that his work was important, but so was Anna. By aligning their individual wants with their shared values, they found a new rhythm. Their love wasn't about sacrifice, it was about collaboration. Now think about your own relationship. Are your desires fueling connection, or are they creating friction? For example, if you crave more quality time, have you communicated that in a way that invites collaboration, not conflict? Here's a challenge for you. Take a moment to reflect on one thing you deeply desire in your relationship. Then ask yourself, how can I align this with my partner's needs? Desire doesn't have to be a battle. When handled with care and discipline, it can be the glue that holds you together. Share your thoughts in the comments. What's one desire you're working on balancing in your love story? And stay tuned, because the next Stoic principle will help you prepare for the inevitable challenges every relationship faces. You won't want to miss it. 4. Turning resentment into gratitude. Let's take a moment. Think about your partner, really think about them. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it the way they make you laugh? The little things they do that make your life easier? Or is it something they didn't do, something that's been nagging at you? If it's the latter, don't worry, you're not alone. Resentment is like an unwelcome guest in every relationship. It creeps in when we feel like we're giving more than we're getting, when expectations go unmet, or when the little things start to pile up. But what if I told you that you could turn resentment into gratitude? That's where Marcus Aurelius's wisdom comes in. Imagine this story. Mia and Ethan have been together for 5 years. At first, Mia loved Ethan's carefree attitude. It balanced her perfectionist tendencies. But as time passed, she began to resent how laid back he was, especially when it came to responsibilities. One day, after a particularly tense conversation, Mia decided to take a step back. She pulled out a notebook and wrote down everything Ethan did right. At first, it was hard. She was so focused on what he wasn't doing. But as the list grew, she realized how much she'd been taking for granted. The way he always made her coffee in the morning, how he made her laugh when she was stressed, and how he stood by her during tough times. When Mia shared this shift in perspective with Ethan, something amazing happened. He felt seen and appreciated, and he started putting more effort into the areas she'd been frustrated about. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Now think about your relationship. Is there something about your partner that's been bothering you lately? Instead of focusing on what they're not doing, try this. Make a gratitude list. Write down 3 things they do that make your life better, no matter how small. Here's the magic of gratitude. It's contagious. When you show appreciation, your partner feels valued, and they're more likely to reciprocate. It creates a cycle of positivity that can dissolve resentment and bring you closer. So, what's one thing your partner does that you're grateful for today? Share it in the comments, and let's create a gratitude movement together. And stick around, because the next Stoic principle will show you how to embrace vulnerability in a way that strengthens your bond like never before. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. 5. Commit to loving fully. Let me ask you something. Are you truly all in when it comes to your relationship? Think back to the moment you first said, "I love you." Do you remember the rush of emotion, the vulnerability, the excitement? Now ask yourself, do you still love with that same depth? Or has fear, doubt, or routine held you back from loving fully? Let's explore this with a story. Meet Ava and Ryan. Ava loved Ryan deeply, but after a few years, she found herself holding back. She didn't want to appear too needy or vulnerable, so she kept her feelings close to her chest. Ryan, on the other hand, was also cautious, afraid of being hurt if he opened up completely. Their relationship became a game of half measures. They cared about each other but stopped expressing it fully. Until one day, Ava stumbled upon a quote from Marcus Aurelius. "Do every act of your life as if it were your last." It struck a chord. What if this moment was her last chance to show Ryan how much he meant to her? That night, she decided to do something bold. Instead of her usual "love you" before bed, she sat Ryan down and told him everything, how much she admired him, how safe he made her feel, and how grateful she was for their life together. Ryan was taken aback. No one had ever spoken to him with such raw honesty. Inspired by her courage, he opened up too, sharing fears and dreams he had never voiced before. That conversation became a turning point. They realized that loving fully meant letting go of the fear of rejection or being too much. Now, let's bring this back to you. Have you been holding back in your relationship? Maybe you've been afraid to say what you really feel, worried it might not be reciprocated. Or maybe you've fallen into the trap of routine, saying "I love you" out of habit rather than deep emotion. Here's a challenge. Tonight, tell your partner why you love them. Be specific. Share a memory, a trait, or a moment that made you fall for them. Watch how they react, how your vulnerability invites them to open up too. Love is scary, yes, but Marcus Aurelius would remind you that life is short and love is worth the risk. So why not dive in heart first? Let me know in the comments, what's one thing you've been meaning to tell your partner but haven't yet? And stay tuned, because we're just scratching the surface of Stoic wisdom and how it can transform your love life. So there you have it, the 5 secret Stoic positions for mastering intimacy. These ancient principles aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical, actionable tools that can transform your love life. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments which of these principles resonates most with you. And remember, by applying these Stoic teachings, you're not just building intimacy, you're building a foundation for a deeper, more meaningful connection. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.